Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 56. We're here to embrace our celestial lineage and sever this accursed pact. No matter what the Adjudicator has to say, with a deep dive into Hornsby and Halo number 4. I am Becky, as you all know, or maybe you forgot since I have been gone as of late. It feels so good to be back with my partner in crime, Nick. How are you?
Well, I'm ecstatic to have you back, my dear. I know that last time you couldn't attend because you and Bruce deigned to go to a zoo without me during spring break, and it's understandable. And then another time you were on a work trip or something like that. So, it was nice to have Rob's help, as always, on the show. But, of course, everyone is ecstatic to have Becky officially back.
You can't get rid of me.
And I'm ecstatic to be talking about Hornsby and Halo again. There are so many Ghost Machine books coming out, and everybody's talking Northerner right now. Everybody's talking Ash Arden. I'm ready to get back to Zach and Rose today. How about you?
Oh, super ready. I love the family Odyssey.
I do. I love the jovial nature of this beast. And so before we get into it, though, I'd like to celebrate someone else who loves Ghost Machine. It appears as much as we do, but they're in another country. So you may have noticed recently there's been some traffic from an Instagram account called ghostmachienbrasil. And they hit us up when they made the account and they were like, hey, this is really cool. We want to do the same thing down here in Brazil. Brazil's really getting excited about Ghost Machine and where you can get the books and all that kind of stuff. And I've seen some retailers online too that are Brazilian based that advertise like, hey, you can get Ghost Machine through us. And so Ghost Machine Brazil, the Instagram account, they've been very collaborative, which we always love all around. We try to amplify the voice of anybody else who loves Ghost Machine too. And so this new account has been putting together a lot of collaborative posts, and they're neat. They're like introducing a series and then some information about this series along with the pictures from the series. And it's really neat. So I would recommend checking them out. It's Ghost Machine Brazil, and that's spelled Brasil. Okay, because in Portuguese, the native language of Brazil, it is spelled with an S, apparently. So that make sure when you go look that account up, which you can also easily find it by going to our Instagram. They've collaborated with us often recently, but check them out. It's super duper cool. Always like to see Ghost Machine's footprint spreading worldwide. Yay. But enough about that, because this news is worldwide, and I got to get out of here because you're back. We don't have a sub in this time. You're back in your anchor seat, and it's time for the news.
It feels so good to be back. The solicits just came out for Hornsby and Halo number 8, the Rockefellers number 7, Geiger number 16, which, whoa.
Right.
And Rook Exodus Volume 1 Deluxe, in all capitals, edition. Also, in the coming episodes, we're going to have a couple of very fun guests. Nick Turton from New Zealand. He will come on as a guest co-host. He did some new Simon Pure and Annie Oakley cosplay. And he's going to join us for the Rug Coat number 10 episode.
And yeah, so everybody out there, if you keep your eyes peeled for a post that we're going to have upcoming of Mr. Churton and his sister in cosplay as Simon Pure and Annie Oakley, which is going to have a spectacular backdrop, let's just say as a preview for now. It's almost as if they're going to be in the comic themselves. We're going to put a post about that to advertise for next week's episode, which is when Nick is going to join us on the show from New Zealand. So we're going to be literally talking to someone who's in the future for all intents and purposes, because it'll be the following. If we do it at night, Nick's going to do it with us his time the following morning. So if it's a Wednesday night For him, it'll be Thursday morning. So we're excited to have him on the show. Just as a reminder, Nick has contributed by putting together most of the Fan Fridays content that we put together on Fridays on many, many platforms. And he's been known for over a year now of putting together the first red coat cosplay out there at his local comic book shop in New Zealand, which is Mark One Comics. So it's kind of funny. I've been talking with him for over a year. I know him rather well now, and I'm excited to have him on the show, but I've not heard his voice. And I know he's from New Zealand, so I'm a dumb American who's like really excited that I get to have a New Zealand accent on the show. But it's one of those things where it's like, first time I get to hear somebody's voice, it's going to be recording it. So that'll be interesting.
Very exciting.
After that, we're going to have Millhouse's, a.k.a. Jason Hershowitz, on for his third appearance on the show. He's going to come on because he was at C2E2 in Chicago. He, as you recall from the last episode, he got that sketch cover done by Gene Ha of Linus Nash from First Ghost. And he also got some info from Gene Ha about that series. So I would love to share it with you right now. It does add some new wrinkles to the potential story there. But I'm not going to take that moment away from Mr. Hershowitz. So when he's back on the show, he's going to tell us about that, and he's going to participate in one of our deep dives. So also, that reminds me, we have one other important piece of news. On Thursdays, we've started a weekly giveaway. We were recently provided with a box full of Ghost Machine swag by an anonymous donor. And we were asked simply to make sure that it ends up in the hands of Ghost Machine fans. So that means that every Thursday, we started it on the 17th. We started it last week. We're going to do a weekly giveaway for an item, and you have to answer a quiz, a Ghost Machine quiz. There are 3 questions that are in that quiz. You got to respond and do all the things. So make sure to check out whichever one we got running right now, because I've got, 9 or 10 things in this box that was sent, and I'm going to give them all away over the course of the next 9 or 10 weeks. Whew, there's lots of news going on out there in the world of Ghost Machine right now. As we run down the episode, we've got to take a look at the covers for this fantastic issue. Did you get a chance to do that? Which cover did I give you to read? Snoggle? A cover?
A. But I've seen them all.
What did you think of the A cover?
It's just Calamity, which I think adds to the nature of the book.
And this is by our primary artist pairing of Peter Snaberg and John Calise. Calise doing colors, as he has been doing for some time. And it's both of them mid-transformation falling from the sky. And if you took a look at the promo video we did for this episode, that little brief deal, it was using this along with several other scenes from this issue where they're either going up or down in the sky, because as we'll find out, that's part of the story. I don't know about you, but the B cover is like maybe my favorite Hornsby and Halo cover that's been done yet. And that's just because I'm really partial to Yvonne's art.
I think it was amazing. Just like that fully transformed vision of both of them. Like, oh, no notes.
That's what the kids say now. That means it's like super great, right?
It does.
And that one's by Ivan, Danny Mickey, inker extraordinaire, and Brad Anderson. It's both of them fully transformed, both pets. And they look, they look a bit more, let's just say, sure of themselves, I'd say, than we've seen in some of the other ones. And this last one, Kyle Hotz did, and it's a lot darker. It's a little bit of a creepier vibe. Kyle Hotz was the penciler and the inker, and Dan Brown did the colors. And they're standing on a pile of skulls.
Metal.
Yeah. Definitely the most metal Hornsby and Halo cover that I think we've seen so far.
Yeah. I like how different. I mean, if you're going to do multiple covers, making sure that they're all distinct and different is, in my opinion, a good idea. And I think that they captured that.
So those are the 3 covers that will be your choices if you go to your local comic book shop and pick this book up, which you must do at this point because we are going to dive deep into it, as you all know and love, and discuss it in thorough detail, making this your official spoiler pause for Hornsby and Halo number 4. All right, we've turned the page, we've opened the cover, and within we have found the creative team responsible for this fine Ghost Machine comic. Becky, can you give us a creator roll call?
Of course I can. We've got our storytellers, Peter Tomasi and Peter Schneeberg, and our colorist, John Calise, our king of letters, Rob Lee, our designer, Steve Blackwell, and the editor, Brian Cunningham.
Whenever you say king of letters now, I feel like there should be a bugle. You know, we start in medias res, in the middle of it all, as is often the case in a comic book, but we see them right away. Rose is like 75%, maybe 60% transformed, you know, both legs, half her head, the tail's out.
And Zach is less transformed. I would say he's like 25%.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Mostly wing, you know, mostly wing. You got wing and you got arm and you got an eye. And
one eye.
So, yeah. Yeah, but either way, they're definitely not in control of it and not fully there yet. So if we're in the middle of things, remind us where we left off. There's a horde of zombies, right? Like, why is there a horde of zombies that is on the ground and surrounding them?
They want those 2 to give it back. And I do find it very interesting that those 2 haven't put together what they need to give back, which obviously they want the stuff that was stolen from them. Did you notice it's the very, first page, bottom panel, it kind of looks like because they were both holding that thing, it should have just been Zach holding it, so he would 100% transform. But they shared the transformation. So that's why you get the exact cutout of if you put like where Zach is transformed and posed it onto Rose's body. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, they would fit. Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And you're talking about at the end of the last one, remember the guy that we've now found out he was dressed like a postal service worker that talked to the dog in the angelic script. We've found out that that person's aligned with, let's for now just say Zach's side. And remember, he came and gave him a gift. I was like, I'll give you a gift, rain or shine. And inside it, there was this like cloud that he was supposed to eat, and there was a feather. And then he eats that. And when he eats that is when there's this magical boom, because they were being surrounded. They're on the football field because they ran to that point and they're being surrounded by the undead. They keep saying, "Give it back," and then the boom shoots them all off, which is why all the undead are like they're prone, as they would say in Dungeons and Dragons, and it's going to take them another 2 rounds of combat to get stationary and chase them again. You know, and that's why you got to flip the page until they stand up. But so that's why we're here, and that's an interesting thing. Is it's like ultimately the postal worker angelic dude, who we're going to talk more about in a minute when he has a conversation with somebody else. Obviously, his goal is not at all to like help Rose be partially transformed or whatever. And keep in mind, Ghost Machine fans, that prior to this, we have seen her fully transformed, but not really kind of like know what was going on. And then when somebody grabbed her, they could see her fully transformed. We've only ever seen something come out of him in an angelic way, and then go do some stuff and then come back to him. And this is when we first see him transform with actual like features that he can acknowledge and see, as opposed to waking up in the morning and being like, WTF, what happened? so they run and they're like, oh my gosh. And he points some stuff out, right? Like they actually talk about how they're feeling as it's happening. He's like, my eyes and my head are hurting. She says there's too much pressure. I can't run with these weird legs. It hurts. Like this is obviously not what was supposed to occur.
I love the comedy in it too, where they're just running away and freaking out at the same time, which is super valid. And Rose is saying, I'm having a dream. I'm having a dream. Zach goes, it's a nightmare, Rose. A nightmare. I just think it kind of brings a little bit of lightness to the situation.
And they're going to get got by these zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the angel guy at the post office outfit is in the background being like, hey, come on, you got to do this thing. And ultimately, though, what's funny is Rose is the one that's like, hey, you got wings. You might as well get us out of here. And she's the one that motivates them to kind of like get some lift from his singular wing. They don't really get off the ground for super long, which makes a lot of sense. And that's what our video was poking fun at. But they're still doing the give it back, give it back, give it back. But then when they do get a little bit airborne, the crazy zealot angel guy is like, yes, embrace your celestial lineage. And it's like, this guy is he can see that that Zach clearly is not like, this is not meshing or happening the way that was intended, but he's so blind by the fact that he wants to end the accursed pact.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy because you hit it right on the head. Like it's not going well. They're just kind of flopping around in the sky because he's got one wing. Like they know they're going to fall. It's really not going well.
Yeah, he in his defense, he says he's like, shut up so I can concentrate. But that's when we get he's not a protagonist, he's not an antagonist. I guess he's like whatever Obi-Wan is. I don't remember that from 10th grade English, but the Adjudicator swings in, grabs the angelic guy, and as that's happening, right away, the angelic guy is like, I should have known you'd be lurking somewhere about Adjudicator. So that we immediately, like, there's a lot of world building that happens in just this 2 pages of interaction and then a little bit more in another page between these two characters. Because we see the dynamics are that angels are not afraid of him. It's more like they resent him. And because he's like, you're hiding among mortals, you're interfering with the celestial and infernal one's destinies. So even he as an angel is saying that what the Adjudicator is doing is wrong to be doing, even against his quote unquote opposite or enemy or whatever. And he defies him because he's like, well, that time has come to an end. So it's like, why did he think that this, do they not know how powerful this guy is? Like, it's really interesting to me that he didn't immediately like flee from him.
I also think there's probably a little bit of, what is a better word for cockiness?
Posturing, which is what he calls it. He says, he says your incessant posturing should come to an end.
Yeah, they're just full of themselves. They feel untouchable.
What I mean, though, is we know the pact was formed, and we know everybody knows the Adjudicator is the one that's meant to enforce it. I would think that this particular fella, who he's able to just grab by the neck and be like, no, listen, would realize that he's like, the angel's a level 3 guy, and the Adjudicator's like a level 20 guy, or whatever, like it's just interesting to me. But we learn a little bit more about that on the page after they fall into snow.
Have you ever seen a little dog fight a huge dog or a human? Like 10 times their size?
Yeah.
That's what's happening here. It's little dog energy.
Yeah, I think that you have found an appropriate analogy, for sure. But we do get a beautiful page by Peter Snaberg and John Cleese of them falling, and then Rob Lee, I love the way that he made FLOOOSSHH be the sound of these two landing in the snow.
I feel it. And the little kitty, like, no, not me. Or, well, I guess it's not really a cat.
You know? Right, because that kitty, as we know, is very selfish. Most selfish kitten in town. And there's some more that develops with the Adjudicator and the Angel, right? Mm-hmm. Because so this is more, because even the Angel says to him, to your point about little dog thing, he says, you dare lay your hands on a dominion. So that's his like angelic rank or whatever. But he's also implying that the Adjudicator is not allowed to influence the situation or is not allowed to do anything. Then they kind of back and forth each other, both by saying, like, you're not supposed to do that. No, you're not supposed to do that. And you're not supposed to be here. And you're not supposed to be here. And it's like, okay, well, ultimately, the Angel guy tries to spin it. He's like, I'm not here to disrupt anything. I'm here to empower my realm, celestial, into embracing their inner light. And it's like, okay, or you're here to cause trouble, or you're here to end this pact, which is preventing war. Like, it just, he comes off like a sneaky, sleazy kind of salesy thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. That's 100% what he's doing.
And then the Adjudicator just literally zaps him with lightning and he's gone. With some more great letters from Rob. But that's what I'm saying. There's got to be some dynamics to the treaty that lead us to a place where it's like, okay, I can see why that thing would not have freaked out about how that guy could have lightninged him away, because he thought there was protocol to follow or whatever. And he thought that he could get around it.
I really you spoke about the letters that Rob did with the kind of sound of lightning ripping that thing from the realm that they're currently on. But then the panel under it is just the little sizzling out of angel feathers.
And we see the Adjudicator Supermaning it away because he can fly, and then he helps them get out. But he de-transforms them. Did you see that? He's the one that de-transforms them when they're in the snow.
Yep. And I like that they're face down because they have no idea.
Oh, that's convenient, isn't it? For sure.
They didn't get to see the flying bus guy.
That's true. They did. And so that allows them to get up and out of there, and they're freaking out. And what's funny is that they still don't know what they want, right? But they're getting pursued by the horde of the undead, still all echoing, give it back. But then they just walk right past them because Zach's cat is wearing the necklace, which is the only item that they have on them that belongs to anybody. And so all of them run after the cat. And then Zach has his first of two criminal instances in this issue that he learned from his parents, which, if you recall, every issue prior, we have had his parents do something to him that's really bad, or like disregard something about him that's really bad, like the thing with the earthquake and them calling him and all that. Like there's
questionably legal, right? Like child safety is a thing. You can't just like make your kid get into a crematory.
Yeah, I don't like thinking about it. And so me neither. In this issue, though, we don't have any, because we kept being like, he's raising the stakes every time. Like, what's the next worst horrible thing that they can do to him? But I think they're out skiing, if I remember. They're on like a trip. and so in this instance, we learn two horrible things that they've done, but it's more like things that they taught him or enabled him to do. But it's interesting to me because it's about nature and nurture, right? So he learns these skills, one of which is this one that we see right here, which is how to jump a car, even though he's only like 13. And he already knows, like, give me a box to sit on and all that kind of stuff because he's had to drive hearses around. And so it's like he's taking an evil thing, and because of what he is, he's giving it a useful purpose. Like, I'm sure that it's not good to steal that person's nice old truck. I'm sure his intent is not to steal the truck forever, it's to save his cat and get a heck out of Dodge.
His parents remind me of the couple that lived next to the Griswolds.
You're saying
Todd and Margot.
Todd and Margot. Yeah. They don't.
I don't think they
don't
have
even have
kids.
a Christmas tree, and they don't have lights or anything.
They don't have kids, but that is like if Todd and Margot had kids,
they would definitely be Zach Halo's funeral home running parents.
Yes.
So barrels through the snow. He's driving the car because Rose is literally pressing the gas and brake at his behest. The cat does jump out because he's like, Pepper, come on. Like he's trying to save the cat. However, he does stop the car because he does have a plan. So he's been conscious of this. Like we don't have an aha moment after the cat jumps on his head where he's like, oh, look at that necklace. No, we see that as soon as the cat's in the car, we get a very good stopping the truck in the snow sound from Rob, SKUNCH. That is definitely the sound of a truck stopping in the snow. And he's like, no, we're going to stop and do something real quick. And he takes the necklace off of Pepper, walks outside, gives it to the lady, and she changes what her refrain is to gave it back. And then she seems docile. And then we do get this neat little one panel. This is really neat to me. So the panel, hey, Ghost Machine fans, make sure you take a look at this page, okay? It's the page when he gives the undead old lady the necklace back. There are several panels on this page that take place in the cemetery. There's also one panel that is him remembering having put it on her body. And because he prepared her body at the funeral home. The panel where he prepares her body has rounded edges. The other 6 panels that take place with the undead, they have regular corner edges. And that's significant. Like that's a thought out thing. That's something that is unique to the creative minds that we're encountering with this type of independent media.
I don't know. It reminds you of like a old photograph.
Right. It's just a really subtle, intelligent way of saying, hey, this is him reflecting on something. And that's Ghost Machine. So they get back in that truck because apparently that truck is also, it works out because it's got a pretty decent sized bed in it. They throw all his zombies in the bed. And then she apparently in the process, tells Zach where they gotta go because remember, she hawked a bunch of stuff. She found a bunch of stuff that was like in her room in the morning that was obviously stolen. And nature versus nurture, she's the demon by nature, even though she's being heavenly nurtured by wonderful parents. And so her nature was to not really worry about finding who it belonged to. It was to take it to the pawn shop, buy it, and keep the necklace for herself. And so they go find a pawn shop guy who lives above his pawn shop in the small town and all that good stuff. And he's like, basically they go back and forth with a truck full of zombies and he like sees that. And before he sees the zombies, he's like, no deal. Like, go away. I paid you for that stuff. But then he sees a truck full of zombies and he's like, but if you had the 3,000 I gave you, then maybe we could make a deal.
Well, I like how it's like, give it back, which, Rob had to have a super fun time with all these give it backs. But then, like, the look on the pawn shop owner's eyes, I love that because I think that would be my reaction too.
Yeah.
Just give me the money and get those zombies away. Like, in fact, it's a little bit of a not as crazy as a reaction as I think someone would really have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be like, no, screw you, I'm locking my doors. You got a truck full of zombies. But that's your point about the lightheartedness that you were talking about earlier with the humor. Just it's moments like these that make me feel like I know this isn't as flashy as Rook Exodus and all the like metal stuff. And I know it's not the shared universe of the unnamed where people have all these questions about conspiracies. But I'm sorry, folks. These pages where they go to this pawn shop owner with a truck full of zombies, I can see that on a TV show. I can see that in a movie. Like Hornsby and Halo would make a great episodic TV show. It is if you made it funny, like if you really leaned into the funny, it's funny smart, like really, really cool. So
I like the hilarity of it.
yeah,
Because you could get really serious with this type of content. You could, kind of campy, which I like.
yeah, in a good way. And you know what? If you go serious, that's one of their differentiators. Like the heaven and hell theme, having it be this way, having it be about kids, having it be about them being raised by humans of their opposite, like all those things coupled with humor make it be like it just checks all the boxes of no, you haven't read this before, man. You need to read it. You haven't read this before. Like if you think you have, you haven't. And like Peter said, it's not just because we say Family Odyssey, it's not just for kids. So tell your friends who aren't reading Hornsby and Halo because they think it's a book for kids, they need to read it.
Right meow.
I really like the panel at the top of the page after they give them their stuff back where you've got the 5 zombies. You got one zombie putting on his fancy cufflinks. You got the lady zombie with her rings, and you got
guitar zombie.
Guitar zombie in the background.
Gave it back.
Yeah, it's like, man, the guy wanted to be buried with his guitar, and y'all still grave robbed him. Like, you couldn't, like, geez, man. So here's what's awesome. Rose looks at what I just said that I thought was cool, and she says, they seem happy. And Zach says, if they're happy, I'm happy. I just totally dig that, man. Because it's ultimately saying that if you are good, no matter what circumstances you're challenged with, if you stay, like, it's awesome. Super cool to me. But it also means that the one with the demonic nature can recognize that that is good. And she seems to have some joy from it too. So that no matter what, it's saying, like, however you want to look at it, good can prevail, And then we get the second instance of the evil criminal skill set being used for a good purpose, right? Because then he like picked the lock to get into the cemetery or something like that, and that's another one. But
I also think this is like, he obviously knows about her parents because we've seen him go to their community center. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yes. We've seen him go to their community center, but she's not really seen his family. Like, everyone thinks like, wow, they're these good people who put the town's dead to rest. And he's like, yeah, my life is awful. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out as they get to know one another more.
And that's what the issue concludes with after all the zombies go back in, conveniently climb into their coffins, and then they can just pile the dirt on. But then they have this exposition where it's both of them revealing their truth in the situation.
Oh, they're both scared.
They're both scared, but he admits, my parents do this bad thing. And then she admits, like, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up with that stuff and I made a bad decision. And then they're both like, well, how are you going to tell each other's family? Like, I can't, you can't, what are we going to do? And in the process of them leaving, so to me, that's like, I feel like the next chapter is being turned or opened, right? As they kind of like, because that's the next step in their relationship development, is them being open and honest about these things. And then also that means that there's conflict there, there's new conflict there, and we're going to insert this character that we've seen hints of their power as significantly more, which ultimately is the Adjudicator making this appearance where he says, it looks like you two could use some help.
I will say they are having a crisis of self.
Yeah, so and they're teenagers, like it's in a way representative of the challenges that come with adolescence. And they make a pretty good point. Like, they've been through all this stuff, and now they see this like Sphinx-like being who's got, I love the way that his skin looks, like it's the image, like space and stuff. And they're like, this night can't get any stranger. And he says, actually, yes, it can, and it will. And then the preview says next issue at the mercy of the Adjudicator. So that means that, he's about to put them through Angel Demon Boot Camp, or
who knows?
Don't start the war or you get in trouble class.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or be friends forever, because that's the point of this thing. School. I don't know. But I love how he looks. He's super cool looking.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
What'd you think of the biography of Warren and Faye Hornsby?
I think they're annoyingly perfect people.
I did as well. And I thought it was interesting. Like, it's really cool that they basically have checked every single selfless box on the planet. Like they've worked for the Peace Corps, they've helped other people, they've traveled all over, they've given, they won the. So the two interesting details: who found the lottery ticket that made it so that they could get the community center? Did you know?
Rose.
Rose did.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like, So
it was probably, even back then, someone being like, we'll
right.
get her to do something bad.
Right. Yeah. Or who knows? Like, I'm just saying, like, to me, that sounds like pre-arranged or whatever you want to say. But I did think it was interesting too, though, that they said that Warren can like recite statistics really, really well, and that Faye is a super great cook. It's like, those are their special abilities. But their real special abilities make them realize superheroes, the logistics and bringing people from different backgrounds together. It makes those characters have more depth to me, as opposed to just being like, the really good people versus the really evil people. Because we've seen many examples of why the evil people are bad. We don't really know much about why Warren and Faye were good. And when you find out that they're good and selfless, as opposed to like good and billionaires, which they're not, then it gives that more gravitas.
Annoyingly perfect.
Exactly. All right. Well, Hornsby and Halo number 4. That's a wrap. If you're reading this series and you got comic book friends, tell your friends to start reading Hornsby and Halo. We have a wonderful listener mail, and I really dig this one. It's a really, really good one, and I would love for you to read it to us.
Our listener mail comes from Glenn Cowenton.
I don't know.
They say, hi, Nick and Becky. I used to run a podcast and know how much work goes into it. You guys are great and should be proud of everything you do to grow the community. My question is, what is the best thing I can do as a fan to help spread the word about Ghost Machine?
That's a really good question for many reasons. What do you think?
I will say that I have shared with many of my friends, just speaking to them one-on-one. I personally made many people in my life listen to the podcast. But I just think spreading the word to people who will like it. Like, when you passionately like something, I can say, for me, just talking to my friends and even kind of giving them a copy or two has got them hooked.
So there's a couple of things there. There's talking to people that that might dig it, and there's giving copies away, which we do a lot of that around here. We do, obviously, some of the giveaways online, giving copies away. Like, it's easy to just give somebody a copy of these comic books, like the standard covers. It's no big deal. We do it all the time. But the reason that I find this question especially appropriate is, here's the thing. We live in this sphere. If you're listening to this podcast, then you read these comic books, right? This isn't like one of those podcasts where you go and like Google, I want to listen to podcasts about unsolved murders or aliens, and then you get a million different options, and all the episodes are evergreen. Like, we do this for the community, with the community, on purpose. We want it to be this way. That's why we tell you to read the book before you listen to us talk about the book. And so, to us, this is the world, right? Like, this is our comic book world. Ghost Machine is a really big deal to us. And that means that in our mind and in our heart, we're like, everybody's heard of it. Everybody's heard of it, right? Like, everybody's heard of it, just like they did back in 92 about Spawn. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case, okay? My pull list obviously has every single Ghost Machine book on it, but it also has every Energon book on it. It's got every Valiant Resurgence book on it, and it's got every Spawn's Universe book on it. And I still buy other miscellaneous stuff too. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of really good content in the comic book world right now, especially from the independent arena, especially from the independents. And that means that we want everybody to do great. Like Rob has mentioned before on the show, a rising tide helps all ships. But that also means that if you love this thing, like we all love this thing, then you need to help let people know about this thing. Because what happens a lot of the time when you say, as people that do a podcast about comic books, when you say that you talk about comic books, people say, man, I really didn't like that last Marvel movie. And then that's it. Or whatever. That's the conversation. And it's like, hey, did you know there are comic books that are created in a different way by different folks that are doing it of their own volition with their own ideas? If you tell somebody the premise of Redcoat, like 50% of the population is going to be like, whoa, that's awesome. I'll read that. Like, if you tell somebody the premise of Geiger, like all the Fallout fans, like people that play Fallout, if you're a fan, if you're friends with someone who likes Fallout and you haven't introduced them to Geiger, you are doing your friend a disservice. Just say it. So the point is that it's the world to us, but we need to tell people about it. And that's why it's so easy to maintain so much enthusiasm about this. But there are other more global mechanisms that you don't always think about. And one of those that I do know is a big help to this type of thing, especially this day and age, regardless of whether you'd like to read digital or not. I would encourage you to go put reviews on Amazon for Ghost Machine books. Because
I do it. You can do it through Goodreads.
So putting reviews on online sites for the books, believe it or not, that is a big one. Because a lot of people that aren't in the comic book world, the convention going world, people that wouldn't necessarily even know the names of the creators like that we just wake up and know every day, or we can look at their work and know it, those folks will find Ghost Machine on the internet. They'll find Ghost Machine through Amazon. And many of them will find it and then still go buy the physical copy or order the physical copy online. So it's not at all reserved to just like a digital thing. This really does help, like Geiger number 12 was the number one bestseller for multiple weeks on Amazon's list of post-apocalyptic stories. Literally a single issue of a comic book. And that stuff helps push that up to the visibility of a wider audience. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I care so passionately about this, the more we do that, the more we ensure that every one of these series crosses the 100 issue mark.
Yeah. And then when you review things, if you read comics on your Kindle, if you review them afterwards, that's directly linked to Amazon as well.
Yeah. So Glenn Cowington, great question. The thing about Ghost Machine as well, like I said, I read all those comics, so I'm pretty objective. But no other brand engages with fans the way that they do. And so if you want to spread the word and get the word out, it's really neat because they're going to be right there with you. So it makes it a really awesome experience to be able to be a part of something like this that is growing by leaps and bounds. Got a huge 2025 ahead. We're only 4 months in. And speaking of which, if you would like to send us, what is it called, Becky?
Fantastic mail.
Yeah. You can do that by emailing ghostmachinefans@gmail.com. And if you'd like to check out all of our other content, you can do so by visiting www.ghostmachinefans.com. And on there, you'll find our Twitter, our Blue Sky, our friends on the Ghost Machine comic book Facebook fan page are on there. Also, make sure to check out the Reddit and Pinterest. If you dig that, we've got that going. We also have a wiki on there that is looking for more and more contributors. It is a lot to keep up on as Ghost Machine continues to grow. But the best place to stay up to date on all of your Ghost Machine news is by visiting our Instagram, where we post new stuff almost every day.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast.
Podcast. Give it back.